Talking Trees with Lily and Jad. Welcome to today's episode, where we will explore a fascinating beetle, the giant longhorn beetle, Cerambyx curto. First, we'll examine its appearance, habitat, and the reasons why this species is protected. Then we'll dive into the details of its biology, including its life stages, behavior, and the plants it inhabits. Get ready for an enlightening journey into the world of this extraordinary beetle.
Wow, you guys have really outdone yourselves this time. The info you sent about the Cerambyx curto, the great Capricorn beetle, is unbelievable.
Yeah, some incredible stuff.
Get ready for a deep dive into these massive beetles. I mean, seriously, some of these guys can grow over 2 inches long. At least that's what I'm seeing from these Wikipedia entries and this specialized database entry.
Right. They can be up to 55 millimeters.
Okay, 55 millimeters.
Which makes them one of the largest beetle species in Europe.
Wow, 2 inches long. I'm starting to see why they call it the Great Capricorn Beetle. That's definitely not something I'd want to find crawling on me. But hey, size isn't everything, right? What else makes these beetles so fascinating?
Well, their life cycle is particularly interesting. It's very closely linked to oak trees.
Okay.
And it spans a pretty impressive 3 to 5 years, much longer than most beetles.
Hold on, 3 to 5 years. So you're telling me this little creature spends years, like, meticulously crafting these tunnels within an oak tree. That's some serious dedication.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, let's start with the basics. For anyone who needs a quick refresher, what exactly is Cerambyx curto?
Well, Cerambyx curto belongs to the family Cerambycidae, which are commonly known as longhorn beetles.
Got it.
And as we've already discussed, it's one of the largest European beetles. And it's found across a pretty wide range spanning North Africa, Europe, and parts of Asia.
And don't forget the UK, well, they used to live there. They've since gone extinct. Imagine, there are preserved specimens dating back 4,000 years. That's a glimpse into the past for sure. But enough about history and size. What do these impressive beetles actually look like?
Okay, so picture this. A beetle with a polished ebony black body.
Okay, I can see that.
Now, add a touch of sunset to its back. Its wing covers are tipped with a rich, reddish brown.
I can definitely picture that, like a tiny armored knight with a fiery touch. But I have to ask, what's with those super long antennae on the males? They're way longer than the females. Are they just for show?
Not at all. Those antennas are highly sensitive and are designed to pick up pheromones released by the females.
Oh, wow.
So it's all about, maximizing their chances of finding a mate in a vast forest. Especially when you consider that their survival is tied to specific host trees.
So it's like a high-tech dating app.
Huh.
But for beetles,
Exactly.
are there specific types of pheromones they detect? And do they change depending on the season or the beetle's age?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While we know they use pheromones for mate attraction, the specifics of the types of pheromones and how they might change over time are still areas of active research. It's a fascinating area of study.
Yeah. It makes you realize how much we still don't know about even the smallest creatures, right? But speaking of small creatures, what about the beetle larvae? What do those little wood-munching machines look like?
Well, the larvae are perhaps less glamorous than the adults, but they're equally fascinating. Imagine like a creamy white grub, up to 70 millimeters long, spending years of its life tunneling through the heartwood of an oak tree.
Wait, 70 millimeters? So they're even bigger than the adults? That's one chunky grub. It makes you wonder how they manage to move around inside those tunnels.
Right.
But I'm guessing that that size is crucial for their unique life cycle, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Their size allows them to consume, a pretty substantial amount of wood during their development. And as we mentioned earlier, this development process takes a remarkably long time.
Right, that 3 to 5 year life cycle, that's an incredibly long time for an insect. It must be intricately tied to their relationship with oak trees, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Oak trees are essentially for Cerambyx curto. Females lay their eggs in decaying oak wood.
Okay.
And the larvae spend years, munching their way through the wood, creating elaborate tunnels as they go.
Yeah. So they're essentially recycling the dead wood, right? Breaking it down, returning those nutrients to the forest floor.
Exactly.
But hold on, doesn't that munching also have the potential to harm living oak trees?
Well, that's the paradox. While Cerambyx curto plays a vital role in forest ecology by, breaking down dead wood, their larval activity can weaken living oak trees.
I can see.
which, makes them more susceptible to disease or other stressors. So it's a delicate balance between their role as decomposers and their potential impact on living trees.
It's like they're walking a tightrope between benefit and harm. It makes you realize that even the smallest creatures can have complex and nuanced roles in the ecosystem. But I'm curious, are oak trees their only target? Do they ever go for other types of trees?
Well, while oaks are their primary hosts, ceramic larvae have been known to target other deciduous trees as well,
Okay.
including chestnut, hornbeam, plum, and maple. However, oaks remain their preferred choice, likely due to, the specific composition of the wood and the availability of suitable decaying material.
So if I'm out walking in a forest, how can I tell if a tree has been chosen by these impressive beetles? What are the telltale signs of a Cerambyx certo hangout?
Okay. So keep an eye out for oval-shaped galleries in the wood.
Okay.
Often, several inches deep with a reddish interior.
Gotcha.
These are the markings of their larval tunnels. You might also notice defoliation of the tree, as the larvae feed on the phloem and sap, disrupting the tree's nutrient transport.
Fascinating. So it's like a detective game, searching for clues to uncover the secret lives of these beetles. But knowing that their life cycle is so closely tied to specific trees, I can't help but think about the threats they might face. Habitat loss must be a major concern, right?
You're spot on. Cerambyx certo is considered vulnerable on the IUCN Red List, which means they face a high risk of extinction in the wild. Habitat loss and degradation are the primary culprits, as forests are cleared for development, agriculture, and other land uses.
That's worrying to hear. It sounds like understanding their life cycle and host plants is crucial for conservation efforts, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. By learning more about the great Capricorn beetle, we gain, valuable insights into the delicate balance they play in forest ecosystems. And this knowledge is essential for developing effective conservation strategies to protect our future. But we've only just begun to scratch the surface of this remarkable beetle's story. There's so much more to discover. From their role as an indicator species to their surprising relationship with a certain type of fungus.
Okay, now you've got me really curious. An indicator species and a fungal connection. Tell me more.
It's fascinating, how the Cerambyx certo acts as an indicator species.
Okay.
Its presence or absence or even its abundance can tell us a lot about the health of the ecosystem.
An indicator species, like a flashing neon sign.
Exactly.
But in this case, the sign is a beetle.
Right.
So what makes them such good indicators?
Well, they're particularly sensitive to changes in their environment.
Okay.
Especially the availability of old-growth oak trees. Think of them kind of like the canaries in the coal mine.
Okay.
For these forests, if we see a thriving population of Cerambyx certo, it suggests that we've got a healthy forest with a good supply of mature, decaying oaks.
But I imagine there's a tipping point, right? Like too many beetles could actually, spell trouble for the trees.
Precisely. It's a delicate balance. If the beetle population, explodes, it could damage too many trees. And that could disrupt the forest's equilibrium. That's why monitoring their numbers is so crucial.
Okay.
That helps us to, understand the bigger picture.
Gotcha.
And make informed decisions about conservation strategies.
So monitoring is key.
Yeah.
But what about active conservation efforts? Are there any programs in place specifically, designed to protect these beetles and their habitat?
Yeah, absolutely. Several European countries have implemented conservation programs that focus on, protecting and managing oak forests. Some of them involve creating protected areas where activities like logging, which could harm Cerambyx certo habitat, are restricted.
Protected areas like a sanctuary for the beetles and the trees.
Yeah.
Tell me more about those. Like, how do those work? What other strategies are they using to help these guys thrive?
Well, some other programs focus on promoting sustainable forestry practices to ensure a healthy balance of old and young trees. And this includes, leaving dead wood standing or on the forest floor, because as we know, that's essential habitat for our, little excavator friends.
Right. Those chunky grubs need their space to munch. It's amazing how something as simple as leaving deadwood can make such a difference. It's a reminder that even the smallest actions can have a big impact.
Exactly. And it's not just about the beetles. Leaving deadwood benefits a whole range of other insects, fungi, even birds and small mammals. It's all interconnected. So protecting one species often benefits many others, and it creates kind of a ripple effect of positive impacts throughout the entire ecosystem.
Like a chain reaction of good deeds. It really highlights the interconnectedness of everything in nature. You mentioned something about a fungal connection. What's that all about?
Well, it turns out that Cerambyx surdo has a unique relationship with a fascinating fungus called Pleurotus eryngi,
Okay.
also known as the king oyster mushroom.
The king oyster mushroom. That sounds delicious. But
Yeah.
what's a mushroom doing hanging out with the beetle?
Well, this particular mushroom is often found growing on decaying oak trees, the same trees where Cerambyx surdo larvae, spend their time munching away.
So both the beetle larvae and the fungus are like drawn to the same type of wood.
Right.
But is it just a coincidence, or is there something more going on?
It's definitely more than a coincidence. Researchers believe that the fungus actually helps the beetle larvae digest that tough oak wood.
Wait, so the fungus helps the larvae eat the wood?
Yeah.
How does that work? That's mind-blowing. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship then.
It appears so.
A win-win for both parties.
Yeah, the fungus gets a cozy pre-made habitat thanks to the beetle larva's tunneling efforts.
Okay.
And the larvae get digestive assistance from the fungus, which, makes their wood-munching lives a little bit easier. It's a perfect example of symbiosis in nature.
It's incredible how nature finds these, ingenious ways for different species to cooperate, to support each other. It's a reminder that there's always more to learn, even about creatures we think we know. But I'm guessing there's still more secrets to uncover, right?
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground, from their basic biology and life cycle, their crucial role in the ecosystem, the threats they face, and even their intriguing symbiotic relationship with the king oyster mushroom. But there's one more layer to explore: the impact of climate change.
Climate change, the elephant in the room for so many species these days. How do you think rising temperatures and changing weather patterns might affect these beetles and their oak forest homes in the future?
Yeah, that's a really important question. Climate change, it has potential to really disrupt ecosystems in countless ways. And Cerambyx surdo and their oak forest habitats are, they're not immune to those changes.
Yeah, it's like a domino effect,
Yeah.
right? One change triggers another, and it's hard to predict the full impact. So what specific challenges might these beetles face as the climate shifts?
Well, for starters, rising temperatures could affect, the timing of the beetle's life cycle.
Right.
Remember, those larvae spend years developing inside those oak trees.
Right.
Changes in temperature could really throw off that delicate timing, disrupting their emergence as adults or impacting their ability to reproduce.
It's like messing with the internal clock of the entire forest. And I imagine, changes in rainfall patterns could also play a role.
Absolutely. Oak trees are very sensitive to drought.
Right.
And as climate change kind of alters those precipitation patterns, those trees, they may become stressed,
Which makes them more susceptible to disease or, less suitable as hosts for the beetles?
It's like a double whammy for the beetles. Their home is being threatened and their food source is compromised.
Against that.
But it doesn't end there, does it? Climate change can also impact the spread of diseases and pests.
You're exactly right. Warmer temperatures can create much more favorable conditions for the spread of fungal pathogens or insect pests that could harm both the oak trees and the beetles themselves.
So it's a multifaceted threat with cascading consequences.
Yeah.
It makes you realize the urgency of addressing climate change, not just for the sake of Cerambyx surdo, but for the entire web of life that depends on these forests.
So what can be done? What steps can we take to help these beetles, weather the climate storm?
Well, continuing research and monitoring is essential.
Okay.
We need to understand, how climate change is affecting the beetles and their habitat, so we can develop much more targeted conservation strategies.
It's like gathering intel for a rescue mission.
Right.
But beyond research, what about on-the-ground actions?
Well, protecting and restoring existing oak forests is crucial.
Okay.
This includes, promoting sustainable forestry practices that really prioritize the the health and resilience of these ecosystems.
Right, making sure that those forests are strong enough to withstand the pressures of a changing climate.
Exactly.
But what about those those areas where forests have already been lost or fragmented?
Well, that's where restoration comes in. Planting new oak trees, creating corridors to connect fragmented forests, working to improve the overall health of the landscape. These actions can create much more resilient habitats for the beetles.
It's like giving them a fighting chance in a world that's increasingly challenging.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even in the face of climate change, there's hope. We can make a difference if we act now and work together.
I couldn't agree more. It's about taking action.
Yeah.
Both individually and collectively to protect the incredible biodiversity of our planet. And speaking of biodiversity, we've talked a lot about the ecological importance of Cerambyx cerdo, but I'm curious, do they have any cultural significance? Have they popped up in art or literature?
That's a great question. It makes you wonder how these beetles have woven their way into human history and culture. Have they inspired any myths or legends?
Well, while I haven't found any specific examples of Cerambyx cerdo, starring in famous paintings or novels, longhorn beetles in general do hold symbolic meaning in some cultures.
Oh, intriguing. What kind of symbolism are we talking about?
Well, in some cultures, they're seen as symbols of of strength and perseverance because of their powerful jaws and their ability to survive in harsh conditions.
Like the tiny but mighty champions of the insect world.
Exactly.
And those mandibles are no joke. And those long antennas, especially on the male Cerambyx cerdo.
Yeah.
It makes you think of sensitivity and perception.
Exactly. And their presence in folklore and traditional beliefs, across their range really shows how these beetles have captured the human imagination for centuries. Some cultures even associate them with transformation and rebirth, linking them to the cycle of decay and renewal in nature.
That's beautiful. It ties in perfectly with their role as decomposers in the forest ecosystem. They break down the old to make way for the new.
It's a reminder that even the smallest creatures can have a really profound impact on our culture and our understanding of the world around us. They inspire us, they challenge us, and they remind us of the interconnectedness of all living things.
Well said. It seems like Cerambyx cerdo is more than just a beetle. It's a symbol of resilience, a reminder of the intricate balance of nature, and an ambassador for the importance of conservation. I think it's safe to say our listener has walked away from this deep dive with a newfound appreciation for this remarkable insect.
Yeah, I think they've definitely gotten a comprehensive overview. We've covered everything from their basic biology and fascinating life cycle to their crucial role in the ecosystem, the threats they face, and even their cultural significance.
We've really explored every nook and cranny of the Cerambyx cerdo world. But before we wrap things up, I want to leave our listener with one final thought to ponder. We've talked about the threats facing these beetles, from habitat loss to climate change, but I think it's important to remember that there's still hope.
Yeah.
By understanding these challenges and taking action, we can help ensure the survival of this incredible species and the ecosystems that they call home. Perhaps there are local conservation organizations in your area working to protect Cerambyx cerdo and oak forests. Why not reach out and see how you can get involved? Every action, no matter how small, can make a difference.
That's a wonderful call to action. Knowledge is power. And by sharing what we've learned about Cerambyx cerdo today, we hope to inspire our listener to become an advocate for the conservation of this remarkable species and the delicate balance of our planet.
Well said. To our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of the great Capricorn beetle. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and learned something new along the way. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and remember, every action counts.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of the giant longhorn beetle, Cerambyx cerdo. We hope you gained a deeper appreciation for its unique features, habitat, and the importance of protecting this remarkable species. Until next time, keep discovering and appreciating the amazing creatures that share our planet.